Shalom, dear friends. Just a few words to share with you regarding the Parashat Shavua. This coming Shabbat we are going to read the Parashat of Beha'alotcha et Nerot, which is a commandment to Moshe to speak to Aaron, the high priest, his brother, right? To speak to him that he should take upon himself the task, the great task of lighting the menorah. Okay. Rashi on the spot, on the first verse, he's asking a question. What is the connection between last week's parasha at the end? Last week's Parashat Naso, we read about the installment of the princes of the tribes of the Jewish people. Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, not Levi. Excluding Levi, which is the tribe of Aaron, all the princes of all the tribes brought the sacrifices in order to inaugurate the tabernacle, the installment of the tabernacle. However, the tribe of Levi was not invited to do so. So Rashi says, why is it that, what is the connection between the end of last week's parasha regarding the princes of the tribes of Israel and this recent parasha that has to do with the commandment of Aaron to light up the great menorah, the candelabra of the Mishkan, of the tabernacle? So Rashi explains, here is the connection. The connection is that Aaron, he was the father of all the Levites, right? The tribe of the Leviim. When he realized that his tribe was not invited to do like the rest of the princes of Israel, he felt bad. He felt hurt. So God understood what's going on in his heart, and he says, don't worry, Aaron. What I reserve for you is much greater than what I gave to the tribes, because yours is going to be to light the menorah every day. It's an eternal mitzvah, as I will proceed to explain. But first I would like to ask a question. The question is, so our sages say that Aaron felt hurt. Who usually gets hurt? I understand that to feel bad is a natural feeling. But at the same time, it's very hard to think about a great tzaddik, a righteous man like Aaron HaKohen, to feel bad. Why? Who does feel bad when a certain honor was not given, was not extended to him? One who has the character of jealousy, or at least, it's a very natural thing. But nevertheless, when it comes to Aaron HaKohen, it's something else. Aaron HaKohen was not just anybody. He was the prophet of God. He was a righteous man of the first category. How come he felt hurt? He should have relied on the decision of God and accepted. Well, the answer is, to my humble opinion, I'm going to present two possible answers. The first answer is psychological, that to feel hurt is something very human. And that means anybody whose feelings were hurt, he can feel hurt. As long as he doesn't say anything, he does not complain, he does not curse, he does not scream. But in his heart, how can he prevent the fact that he feels hurt? This is very normal. Even the most righteous man can feel hurt when he suspects that a terrible thing has happened to him. Why do I say that? Because we know that the heart of Aaron HaKohen was the purest of all hearts. No question about it. Let's go back, for example, to the book of Shemot, in Parashat Shemot, when God decided to appoint Moshe to be the redeemer of the Jewish people. And Moshe came from the house of Pharaoh. That's where he was raised. Whereas his brother, older than him, than Moshe, was the prophet of the Jewish people at that time. He was the Kohen, the priest of the Jewish people. I mean, he was supposed to be designated to be the leader of Israel, but instead God chose Moshe. So Moshe felt very bad. Maybe my big brother is going to feel bad. I don't want to hurt his feelings. What was the answer of God? Don't worry about your brother. Vera'acha v'samach belibo. Not only he will come and see you and greet you, but he will, I promise you, he has only happiness for you. He is extremely happy. Who can say that? The only one who can go into the heart of people is God. And God saw the internal feelings of Aaron, that he was extremely happy for the fact that his younger brother was chosen to be the leader of Israel and the redeemer of Israel. That it shows that the purity of the heart of Aaron is not questionable at all. But that does not mean he cannot feel bad when something hurtful has been bestowed upon him, unfortunately. Because he didn't know what's going on in the mind of God, so he felt that maybe God forgot him. God felt that. God understood what he has in his entrails. And he says to him, don't worry, Aaron, Shelcha gdola mishelayim. What I am going to give you is greater than what I gave to the princes of the tribes. You are going to be appointed to light the menorah, which represents the Torah, the light of Israel. And this mitzvah that I am giving you to do, you are going to do it every day, and it's going to last forever. Why do I say that? The Mefarshim explain that in fact the mitzvah of the menorah, the lighting of the menorah, remained with the Jewish people even after the destruction of the first temple and the second temple. But what happened in the time of Chanukah? Right? The Hashmonaim, the Hasmonen, coming from the tribe of Aaron. They were the Leviim, right? The Kohanim. And because of them, there was a great miracle that the menorah that when they went into Bet HaMikdash, as you know the story of Chanukah, for which we celebrate Chanukah 8 days and we light the menorah, right? Every day we light one light, the second day the second light, third light, 3 lights, and so forth, until 8 lights. This stems from the commandment that was given to Aharon HaKohen. So God says to Aharon HaKohen, your mitzvah is greater than the other mitzvot, because the mitzvah of the Nesi'im, of the tribes, is going not to be everlasting. You know, as soon as Bet HaMikdash was destroyed, finished with the sacrifices and everything, this was meant only for the time when they were in the wilderness. But your mitzvah, Aharon, is going to be forever. It's an eternal mitzvah. Our sages say that the mitzvah of Chanukah comes from that commandment that was given, the honor that was given to Aharon to light the menorah even from the time of the Mishkan, thousands of years before. So, great honor was given to Aharon in that, if we understand, of course, the secret of that. And we cannot understand fully the secret of all this, but we did explain to the best of our ability to explain. But we are going to offer another explanation, because I would like to first explain that God understands the hurt and the pain, that even when it doesn't come out in the outside, He knows when a tzaddik, when a righteous man feels hurt and he has pain in his heart, He knows it. So the remedy is there, that God presents. We find that I'm going to give you an example, to my humble opinion, coming from a story that is brought in the tractate of Masechet Baba Kama on page 117. It's a famous story of Rabbi Yochanan, Rav Kahana. Rav Kahana was in Babel. Rav Kahana was a disciple of Rav in Babel. At that time, the same time, it was the first generation of the Talmud, and at the same time, Rabbi Yochanan remained in Jerusalem, in Eretz Israel, with the remnants of the Jewish people after the destruction of the second temple. But Rabbi Yochanan has his Bet Midrash, he has his yeshiva, and Rav also in Babylon has his yeshiva. Rav Kahana was a genius, was a prodigy, extraordinary mind. Very, very well respected and honored by Rav, his master. One day there was a terrible case in which Rav Kahana found himself to have caused the death of a certain evil person. I don't want to go into details, it's brought in the Talmud there, in that page. When he came, so he had to run away for himself, otherwise he would be put to prison and maybe even sentenced to death. They were under the government of Babylon, not Jewish anymore. They had some kind of autonomy, but that's it. So he went to Rav. What am I going to do? So Rav said to him, you shouldn't have done it, but I'm going to tell you what to do. You have to take the exile upon yourself to go to the land of Israel, go to Jerusalem where Rabbi Yochanan is teaching. The old, revered rabbi of all the generations, Rabbi Yochanan, is there, he's teaching. I know you, Rav Kahana, I know that you have an extraordinary mind. And I know even from the lessons that I give, that your reactions are unbelievable. So, you have to go there. And now take upon yourself the following, so that to pardon your sin for having had to kill someone, although it was a just decision. So he told him, take upon yourself 7 years of silence. When you go to the shiur of Rabbi Yochanan, you keep quiet. It's not easy for Rabbi Yochanan, a man like this, a real genius, to hear all kinds of theories and not to react. It's unbelievable for him. But for 7 years, that's a lot. Only against Rabbi Yochanan, the revered rabbi of that time. Okay, that's what Rav Kahana did. Immediately he went to Israel and he went to hide. Immediately he went to the Bet Midrash of Rabbi Yochanan. He said to them, I'm coming from Babel. So the disciples there saw that a man coming from Babel is not very important. So they put him to sit down on the 7th row, which means the last row of all the students. Okay, he accepted that upon himself. But that day was the day in which, there was a certain custom that when the great rabbi is giving the shiur, the lesson, the next day, the one in charge, second in his greatness, to repeat that shiur and to explain it further. That day was the day of Resh Lakish, the legendary great Rav, who was the friend as well, Talmid Chaver, as well as a disciple of Rabbi Yochanan. And he was the one to repeat the shiur given by Rabbi Yochanan yesterday. Now the commandment of Rav against Rav Kahana was to tell him not to react at the shiur of Rabbi Yochanan. He did not tell him not to react at the shiur of Resh Lakish. So when Resh Lakish started to explain and to expound the words of Rabbi Yochanan, Rav Kahana got up and he started to ask terrific questions. Only a genius can bring about these kind of questions. Everyone was amazed. Oh my God, look at this. This man came from Babylon. He's such a genius. What is this? Is a lion coming. Ari alami Babel. A lion coming from Babylon. They went to tell Rabbi Yochanan. But before that, they asked Rav Kahana, please come and sit on the first row. They wanted to see him doing the same to Rabbi Yochanan when he comes back the next day to give his shiur. So they went to Rabbi Yochanan and they told him, Rabbi, prepare yourself very well. At that time, Rabbi Yochanan was very old, 120 years old. His eyes also were extremely heavy, and he could not even raise his eyes in order to see. He needed help. He was so old. Nevertheless, his mind was sparkling with tremendous genius. Rabbi Yochanan is the legendary rabbi of all the generations, no question about it. But they told him, nevertheless, be careful, prepare yourself, because there is a certain genius that came from Babylon, he's waiting for you. Fine. Rabbi Yochanan the next day comes, he starts his shiur. Rav Kahana is not allowed to react. Right? Remember, Rav forbade him totally to say anything. Everyone was so disappointed. They said, what's going on? Is this the lion that we thought? This man is a little fox from Babylon. Let's get him back again to the 7th row. It was a terrible humiliation for Rav Kahana. And Rav Kahana felt that those 7 rows could be in exchange for the 7 years that was given by Rav, his master. And he says, I think I can get up and start my questions. And he started with, as a genius as he was, his questions were terrific. And everyone was amazed. And Rabbi Yochanan, of course, the greatness of Rabbi Yochanan is not to be in competition with any greatness. But nevertheless, he wanted to see the prodigy. He said, please help me to lift my pupils of my eyes. This way I can see this marvelous prodigy. When they opened his eyes and he saw something negative. I'll tell you what. Rav Kahana, the poor guy, he didn't mean to do anything bad. But he had a problem on his lips. He has a lip that was cut and exposing his teeth. And to look at him the first time, you think that he is laughing at you. Rabbi Yochanan, when he saw him, he thought that this man now is belittling him. He felt bad, that's all. Rabbi Yochanan felt sadness. He didn't say anything. The Talmud doesn't say that Rabbi Yochanan said, get rid of him or something. No. But he felt hurt. At that minute, Rav Kahana dropped dead. Why? Because in heaven, that's how they do. I mean, the purity of the heart of Rabbi Yochanan is so elevated in heaven that they would punish anyone, even though it was not intentional by Rav Kahana. So he had to bear the result of his presentation of his way, that maybe he should have been more careful, or I don't know. But it happened that he died. When he died, the people were, oh my God, what? Oh, probably because Rabbi Yochanan felt bad. So they came to Rabbi Yochanan and they said to him, Rabbi, there was a mistake. He didn't mean to say anything. That's the way he looks. He said, oh my God. Rabbi Yochanan said, take me to the cemetery. I am going to have to bring him back. Miracle. He went to the cemetery. At the entrance of the cemetery, the Talmud says that there was a huge snake. Achnai. He would not let Rabbi Yochanan enter. So Rabbi Yochanan said to him, Achnai, Mr. Snake, open up. Let the master go to his student. The snake refused to open. Rabbi Yochanan changed his version of words. He said, let the friend go to his friend. The snake didn't budge. And finally Rabbi Yochanan says, let the disciple go to his master. Then the snake let him go in. That's the way of the great righteous people, that they are not humiliated, they are not humbled by being humiliated, maybe, especially not by a snake. He went into the cemetery and he resurrected Rav Kahana. That's what the Talmud says. And he said to him, get up. Rav Kahana got scared. No, Rabbi Yochanan, leave me alone. I don't want to go back with you. Because you might again, as you did it to me now, you might do it again to me. So Rabbi Yochanan promised to him, I promise you, Rav Kahana, come back with me, you and me, we are going to be able to explain all the difficult text of the Talmud, and we will be able this way to give it a tremendous contribution to the learning and the study of Torah. That's the end of the story. What do we learn from this? That the heart of the very righteous man, the purest heart, is known very well by God, and therefore his heart is extremely honored and respected in heaven, so much that a person could become guilty even though he is not guilty, and he might be punished. So the same thing happened with Aharon HaKohen. Aharon HaKohen felt bad. He didn't say anything bad. God knows the heart of Aharon. He knows that he is pure at heart. Nevertheless, he understood that he feels bad. Therefore, he offered him and he promised him, don't worry, he said. What is designated for you is greater honor than the honor that we have given to all the tribes, to all the princes of the tribes. Well, there is another explanation why Aaron felt bad. It was not a personal hurt, no. It was because he knew the reason why the Leviim, his tribe was not invited. Why is that? Because if you go back to the time when the Jewish people were enslaved by the Egyptians, we know that all the tribes, at the time, every tribe was known by its own tribe. All the tribes were put to slavery, except the tribe of Leviim. They are the only ones who did not suffer from the slavery that befell upon the Jewish people in Egypt. Why? Because in the eyes of the Egyptians, the Leviim, the Levites, were known as people who are closer to God. So therefore they won't touch them. Because they did not suffer the suffering of the Jewish people. Unlike the other tribes, every prince of every tribe suffered, and he was given tremendous punishment just because they were supposed to be responsible for the work, for the slaves. So the princes of the tribes suffered very much. That's why they were given the honor of the inauguration of the Mishkan. But Aaron understood that the tribe of Levi did not suffer at the expense of the Jewish people. Therefore, they were not given this kind of honor. So that's why he felt hurt. He felt hurt for the Leviim. Why didn't I have the merit to suffer for the Jewish people, like the other tribes have suffered? That was exactly the feeling that caused such a sadness in the heart of Aaron. God knows, and he reads the heart of the righteous man, and he says to Aaron, don't worry. Your mitzvah, your commandment, and your honor is going to be forever and ever. Even up to today, every Kohen is honored by being first called to the Torah. But besides that, is also the mitzvah that was given to Aaron to light the menorah was the mitzvah that became eternal by the Jewish people, of course, through the intermediary of the story of Hanukkah, in which we had the great miracle. The miracle that the light lasted, the oil, the little oil, small quantity of oil that there was sufficient only for one day, to light one day, sufficed for 8 days, and that's the reason why we celebrate Hanukkah for 8 days, and that stems from Aharon HaKohen even thousands of years before, when Aharon HaKohen was given the honor to light the menorah. That's the difference, and that's the point. I just would like to add, based on what it says in the parasha here, that the Leviim, the Levites, were called as a Toch Bnei Israel, the central point of the Jewish people. As God says to Moshe, Kach et Alviim mitoch Bnei Israel, take the Levites to serve me from the midst of the Jewish people. So now the question is, why is it that it had that this kind of expression was to be used, from the midst? I mean, there are other ways how to put. Why you mean to tell me that the Leviim, the Levites, are the center of the Jewish people? In a way, yes. The Vilna Gaon explains something formidable. As you know, he says, Toch Bnei Israel, the inside, the middle of the people of Israel, in the word Yisrael. The word Israel is written in 5 letters, Yud, Shin, Resh, Aleph, and Lamed. The Vilna Gaon says, try to memorize this because it's wonderful. Look at that. Every letter in Kabbalah, it's known that every letter could be written also in the way you pronounce it. That's called bemilui, when it is full. Let's say Yud. In Kabbalah, you don't write just Yud, the letter Yud. You write the way it is pronounced. Yud, Vav, Dalet. Yud. So what in the center you have Vav, right? Take the Vav, put it aside. Go to that's Yud of Israel, the first letter. The second letter is Shin. Shin also, if you write it fully, Bemilui, as Kabbalah insists, then you will write it Resh, Yud, Shin. Resh. I'm talking about Shin. Shin, Yud, Nun. Shin, Yud, Nun. Shin. What is the letter that is in the middle? Yud. Take the Yud, put it together with the Vav before. Now we have Resh of Israel. Resh also, how do you write it? When it is written fully, it is Resh, Yud, Resh. Reish. What is the letter in the middle? Yud. Take it, also put it back with the other two, Vav and Yud. Now we have left Aleph Lamed of Israel. El. Aleph. Aleph Lamed. Aleph, written fully, is Aleph Lamed Pe. Aleph. Right? Take the Lamed. Lamed is in the middle. Take it and put it together with the Vav and Yud and Yud. We are left with the last letters. The last letter is Lamed, right? Israel. Lamed, written fully, is Lamed Mem Dalet. What is the letter in the middle? Mem. Take the Mem together with Lamed, Vav, Yud, Yud, and the Mem, you have Leviim. So now you see that the word Leviim is Betoch Bnei Israel, is central in the word of Israel. That's a wonderful explanation to tell us there is another explanation regarding the work of the Leviim. The Levites, they used to sing the most important part of their job in Bet HaMikdash or in the Mishkan was to sing whenever the sacrifices were brought. So the major labor of the Levite was to sing. Of course, if they had a good voice. Because if they get older and their voice is affected by old age, then they should stop. But they keep, even up to 80 years old, they can still sing if they still have a good voice. Otherwise, when it comes to the other jobs that they were given, such as bringing up setting everything in the Mishkan, that was only between the age of 30 to the age of 50. After that, all they have to do was to just close the doors and open them and to sing. So the main mitzvah of the Leviim was to sing. The word singing in Hebrew, the song is shir. Go to that the Khatam Sofer explains that, by the way, that in the word Yisrael, go to the middle of the word, that's Resh. Resh is in the middle of Yisrael. Take the Resh. You write it fully. You have Resh, Yud, Shin. If you reverse the letter, it is Shir. Shin, Yud, Resh. Resh, Yud, Shin. So you see that even the job, that was the mitzvah that was given to the Leviim, is inside the word Israel, and that definitely gives us the understanding of what the Torah says when Hashem says to Moshe, Kach et Leviim, take the Leviim for me to serve me, mitoch bnei Israel, from the midst of the Jewish people, from the middle. So, in order to understand that according to the words, so the Vilna Gaon has given us his wonderful explanation as well as the Khatam Sofer, and with this we conclude our lesson. And we hope and pray that the days that are coming will be the days in which we will see again the building of Bet HaMikdash, the lighting of the menorah by the Leviim, the singing of the Leviim, hopefully in our days. Amen.